Hey y'all, let's go ahead and take a look at one more thing dealing with equations. When you get into Algebra 1, you're going to learn that not all equations can be solved the way you're used to solving them. Algebra 1 has equations split up into three different types. There's equations that have one solution. Those are the types that we have been solving, and we get to the end and we know x equals a certain number. And on that equation, x can only be that number, which is why some of us get questions wrong because we think x might be something else. However, there are also equations that have what is called infinite solutions, meaning when you solve it, you get down to where you can plug any number in for x and it's going to work. Every single number would work in that equation. And we have finally equations that have what's called no solution. This is not to be confused with equations that you struggle with and not able to figure out how to solve, but these are equations that you actually physically cannot solve because they're impossible. I'm going to show you how to be able to identify all three of these types. Because the cool part is if it has infinite solutions or no solutions, you really don't even have to solve it. Let's take a look at the first one. Using what we've learned in class, I know that in order to start solving this equation, I need to use the distributive property. So I'm going to do 3 times 2x, I'm going to get 6x, and 3 times 4 gives me 12. Same thing over here. Distribute the 6, so 6 times 5x gives me 30x, and 6 times 2 gives me 12. Now, I've got variables on both sides. 6 are over here, 30 are over here, so I can take 6x's from both sides to simplify this even more. Those are gone. I'm left with nothing but 12 over here. 30x minus 6x, 24x, and I can bring down that plus 12. I now have a two-step equation. If you need to move the 12 over here to make it look more easy for you, go ahead. I'm not going to just because I don't have a lot of room to write. But my next step to solve this would be subtract 12 from both sides. That eliminates those. I'm left with 24x's here equals 0. Most of you have realized by now that when I get to a point like this, even if I divide by 24, I'm going to have x equals 0. Now, I solved this. I got a solution. So only one value for x would work. If I plug 0 back into this original equation, I end up with 12 equals 12. Because 2 times 0 is 2, or 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And the same thing over here. 5 times 0 is 0. So 6 times 2 is 12. That means that equation works. Now let's take a look at an equation that would have infinite solutions. Not all of them look this scary, but let's go ahead and just start dissecting this a little bit. Distribute again. 3 times x gives me 3x. 3 times 1 gives me 3. Plus 1 plus 2x. On this side, 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus, and I know that's going to be a 1x. Now I'm going to start combining what's the same. I have 3x's and 2x's, both are positive, so I'll put them together to get 5x. I can put this 3 and this 1 together to give me 4. 4x plus 1x, again, is 5x. Then I'm left with nothing else but the 4. From this point, this is a big clue. Hopefully you've observed, hey, I have the same thing on both sides. Well, when we have two people that are born at the same time that look exactly the same, in real life, we would call them twins. However, in math, we would call that an equation that has infinite solutions. No matter what number I plug in for x, I'm going to get an equation that works. So for example, if I said I wanted x to be 1, I could take this and I could plug a 1 in there. Well, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. No matter what, it's going to be the same. If I wanted it to be 2, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14. Always going to be the same because they're the exact same on both sides. If you can get an equation to where it is twins, looks exactly the same, you don't have to do any more to it. You just write that it has infinite solutions. Now on to the equations that have no solution. Let's take a look at starting to solve this one. We have 8x. I can put that together with that negative 10x. I need you to notice that 10 has a minus in front of it, which means I'm going to subtract. So 8x minus 10x gives me a negative 2x plus 3. Let me fix that negative symbol. And then on this side, distribute. Negative 2 times x gives me, again, negative 2x. This is a negative 2 in here. 2 negatives make a positive, and 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3. I can put this together to give me a 7. So then I have negative 2x plus 7. It's on this side. Sorry, my board is not cooperating right now. And then on this side, I've got negative 2x plus 3. So this equation is trying to look like it's going to be twins, because if you'll notice, you've got the negative 2 and the negative 2. However, if I were to eliminate those, I'm left with 3 equals 7. 3 doesn't equal 7. 3 will never equal 7, and there is nothing that I can multiply both of these sides by to make these two numbers equal to each other. So this equation has no solution, because there will never be a value for x that you can plug in that'll make that work. On that worksheet I gave you, there's a way that it can be folded. You can fold the one side over, so you line up, you'll see there's 2 stars. You'll be able to fold it over and line up to see 2 stars. So you'll give yourself a new blank column. Here's the super secret ways to figure these things out. For a one solution equation, and you may need to pause this because I'm not gonna wait for people to write. You just pause when you need to. A one solution equation has only one possible solution for x. The secret to notice is there's going to be a different number of x's on each side of the equation. Thing you can think to yourself is, hey, I can solve this. I might get a 0, I might get a decimal, might get a fraction, but it can be solved. That's how you know it has one solution. For infinite solutions, the value on the left is going to be the same as the value on the right. The secret thing to pay attention to when I look at the numbers, there's going to be the same amount of variables and numbers on each side. So you're going to notice twins. And finally, when solved, the two sides will not be equal for a no solution equation. Here's the thing to notice. The x's are the same on both sides, but the numbers are not. You can't solve it. If you wanted some extra examples of ways that each of these types of equations could look, here's the way they can look. You'll notice on here for number 2 for the infinite solutions, these don't look like twins. However, if I use the distributive property on this side and do 2 times 2, I get 4x. 2 times 3, I get 6. All of a sudden, now I've got twins. When you're working through some of these, you're going to have to maybe do a little bit of math to discover it. But as soon as you get it to the point where it's twins, you're good. Now, we had a worksheet that went along with this. If you need a copy of it, it's in Echo, or you can see me. If you don't have it, just write these down. On that worksheet, there's 15 problems. 6 of those problems have one solution. Those are the ones you actually have to solve. 5 of them have infinite solutions. 4 of them have no solutions. That means that these 9, you just have to identify which are which and be ready to prove it. Look at number 1. If I look at number 1 and compare, let's make some observations. I see 5x's here and 5x's here. Hey, the x's are the same. If I eliminate those, all of a sudden, I have 8 equals 3. 8 doesn't equal 3, and it never will. Indication, that has no solution. Look at number 2. If I go to solve it, make a comparison. 9x is here, 5x is here. Yep, I can take 5x's off both sides. I'm left with 4x equals 8. Divide by 4. X equals 2. That means this has one solution. And then finally, look here, 6x plus 12, 6x plus 12. We got twins. That means this is infinite. Hopefully this helps. Good luck to you. See me if you have any questions or need any help. I will see you in class.